must understand what you're going to be dealing with if you're going to have one of these projects over here, and you're going to use not West Systems, and you're not going to be using Total Boat. You're going to be using this, and even them I wouldn't doubt if their products not coming also from China. You know, as that person says, China. Now, there was a video in the beginning of this series that I'll show covering some parts with some resins with that Bondo brand, which is made by 3M. Now listen, that old can was a full can that I brought here. It's got salty and rough looking sitting here. These cans, they rust. Look here, I got one here. These cans, they rust, and it's salt there. So that Bondo can, that's from the United States. It's pretty good product. I mean, it's 3M Bond. If y'all don't know, Bondo brand is just a 3M company, and 3M's a good company. And that particular resin, so you know, it's polyester, and it already has the wax solution in it. So if you use that to glass with, you're going to have to aggressively sand with a really coarse sandpaper between laying up coats of that material, or they will not bond to each other, or they'll lightly bond and you can just peel it off. So so know that. But I was sitting over a ballot bind box, and I had some leftover material sitting there at my house, and we're coming here and I'll no longer be there working. So I decided to send it over here down in the bottom corner of a big huge jumbo ballot bind box. And they're all looking. I think a boat tried to launch in this surf and it died, and the waves have got them now, and they're all, I think they're going to go run try to rescue, maybe, I don't know. They're looking to see if they recover, because they didn't got caught with the surf now. You can probably see it out there somewhere. Yeah, there they are. You can see the mast bouncing by. There they are. They're trying to get their little rope wound back up and get their motor started so they can get out of that surf. And I just used that can up to cover bulkheads that were not getting any fiberglass on them. So that's the story with that. And I was just using up some materials I had in the US that was either going to go in the dumpster, or they could come here with me and get used like they did. But that's not what I covered the boat with. So I bought this repackaged product that's probably from China, and got it here. So just remember, it's not the West, it's not the West, it's not the West. And when you see these boats off in these far-flung places, and they break out the old Total Boat, or they break out the old West Systems, and they're showing it, sponsored, yeah, sponsored, or they bought it while they were in the West, and they're not sponsored and want to be sponsored, and they just had it with them, just like I had that Bondo with me, right? So that's the dealio with that. Got to think outside of America, or the Eastern Europe, or Western Europe, or any of the other nations like that, Australia, when you come here. It's improving, but a lot of those brands are never going to be here, because this is about Filipino companies first here. Filipino companies first. So that's the deal. Now we will resume our regular broadcasting. Well, I want to tell a story here. The other day, I mixed up the resin with a blue dye in it. I went ahead and put the wax in it so it would not get sticky on the outside, because I don't have any peel ply here right now. I'm having a hard time locating it, and I'm having to get it shipped in from China. So it was beautiful, it was sunshine, the humidity felt like it was okay, man. I just went with it. Boom, man, I had the whole entire boat covered with a layer of resin with blue dye in it, and the wax, so that it would set off and get a solid hard finish on the outside. Boom, out of nowhere, one of these tropical storms popped up, and it was blowing rain and the ground soaked. I threw a tarp over it as fast as I could, and I mean, just everything's wet everywhere. It's just gusting and spraying the air. It looks like a constant mist and fog. And that humidity in that wet resin set off where it was sticky and gooey on the outside. It didn't let it set. Where I very first started rolling over on the other side, it set. But with the last bit that I done right before the rain hit, and didn't know it, it was looked clear, man. There's some mountains near us, and man, it just come, those will break over those mountains sometimes and just boom, blow up. And it messed it up for me. So I've been having to remove down this side of the boat all of that top coat of resin, which was gooey like chewing gum because of that moisture. And I about got this whole side of the boat done. I know it still looks blue, but you can see through it, as you can tell there. Been working on that all day long. Actually, Cap and I both been working on it all day long. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby, what you doing, girlfriend? So, show you a couple things. I bought some electronic scales yesterday. I needed some scales in order to weigh this resin for the boat. And the thing is, this company that I'm buying from, they, not Nippon, that's right here, that's in these cans, they don't really give the mixing ratio for their product. So it's 1 to 3%, okay? And that's all they said, 1 to 3%. But is it 1 to 3% by volume or by weight? Because that does make a difference. So yeah, that makes a lot of difference, 1 to 3% by volume or by weight. Well, I didn't know. So I mixed it the same as that other brand that I had, and I mixed it by volume, and it wasn't setting the same. One brand set perfect and the other brand wasn't setting perfect. So I tried to do research, and I talked to them, and they're, oh no, 1 to 3%, you know, that's all they know. So I did more research, and I said, look, they're bringing this stuff out of China and they're repacking it. There's just no doubt about it. They're just repacking it. It even says repacked in the Philippines. It'll later say product of the Philippines, but that's misleading because the can could be the product. That I'm telling you, that's the truth. Because right above it, as I showed in a separate video, it says product of the Philippines at one spot down small, but up in the main part of the label it says repacked in the Philippines, repacked. So I went to the Chinese vendors, and I have a good way of communicating with them and all, and I've been dealing with Alibaba even when I was back in US and owned some stores since Alibaba's beginning and dealing straight with these factories, and I've got a real good reputation built up with them. I've got a long history, a very long history with them. In fact, my Alibaba account is in my old business name back in the United States. And that runs into a problem here every once in a while, because when I order stuff in, I can't get them to take my old business name off of there and just leave it my name. And I request it, but it don't happen. And so when stuff comes into the Philippines, it's got a company name on it, and they're looking for my business license. And I have to explain each time, and then it comes on in, and no problem. Philippines have been pretty good to me. So I went to them and asking the key manufacturers of that product, what is your ratio on it? Well, it turns out it's by weight, it's not by volume. And I need a set of scales to weigh it. So, you know, I need to put, for instance, half a kilo up here on the scales. and then I need, you know, do the old math through real quick, and whether I'm going to use 1%, 2%, 3%. 3% would be strong in this heat. Angel's about to go take and chop it up. I can't remember the name of this fish though. What is it? Got a cricket on it. You don't know? It's a you don't know fish?
Yes.
It's the I don't know fish. Well, Melinda says that this fish is very good. Honestly, I don't know. You all are welcome to spout it out. You are welcome to spout it out. But Mel says it's a delicious one and she wants it. Have you ate this fish?
Yes.
Yeah, you like it?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool, cool. All right, I'm going to open this for you here.
Okay, thank you.
See you later, sis.
Okay.
What I'm going to do in here today is that I'm going to make test runs. And so I'm going to take scraps of plywood and I'm going to do different mixes. And what I'm going to do is write with a marker. Show you here. So I've got more scraps of plywood right there. I'm going to write on the back side, this will be the back, what the temperature was outside, what the relative humidity was, and what the mixing ratio was I did. And then I'm going to mix some to that ratio and roll it out on here. And we're going to see how it sets, what the reaction is, and then the same thing again. I'm going to mix a little different ratio. Maybe I'm going to go 3%, and then on another one, maybe I'm going to go 1%. And I'm going to try to strive to keep them in the close to the same temperature. Then what I'll probably do is, and I'll mix small batches. And then probably what I'll do is then wait until the heat of the day in case I had to do some work in the peak heat. And then I'll do those mixes again of what they would be at the hottest point during the day and see how they flash or set or cook off, different terminologies people like to use for the reaction, the chemical reaction. And I'll write that also again. I'll put, you know, it's this time of day, this is the mix I did, this was the temperature, and this is the relative humidity. The humidity is the biggest thing, being here by the seashore and being when it's rained a lot and being a lot of humidity. If the humidity is too high, it will not allow the resin to set properly. It can leave it gooey, not just at a mean blush. It can leave it gooey. It won't set. And that's the catastrophe that we're just trying to overcome from right now, that I had to remove the last coat of resin I put on, which was going to be my finish coat, because all of a sudden it was pretty like this. And I'm doing it, and out of nowhere back over here at the mountains, some clouds finally broke over the mountains on the back side. You don't even see them until they break over those peaks. And man, when they broke over, all heck broke loose, and it went to pouring down and blowing through up here, and I'm hurrying trying to get the tarp over it. There's just, the air is just like soup with humidity, and it did not let it set right. So we're trying to avoid that happening again. Now, yesterday I went to City Hardware, and I bought these little smaller pans. And I was using this pan, and it's okay, it's all right. I was using this pan, but these are little cheap disposables. And here's the deal. I was able to buy this pan. I'll show you the kit here. I bought several of them. I was able to buy this pan with 4 rollers, 2 foams, and 2 of your regular nap-like rollers right there, for the same price that I could buy just the handle and 2 rollers. Same brand. Isn't that crazy? And there was a lady there buying some paint supplies too, and when she seen that, she tossed back the individual rollers that she was getting and bought the kit also. Pretty silly. And then, but a deal's a deal, and it's cheap, man. Just a few dollars for this. I just checked, and the relative humidity right now is 86%. It's too high. Too high. Needs to be under 70% from what I understand. I'm not a pro. Not a pro, but what I understand you need to have the humidity under 70%, and it is 86% right now. So I'm gonna use 2 ounces of resin. Now, as I said, I'm not trying to go by volume, I'm gonna go by weight, but I need a constant measurement though, a baseline. So I don't wanna waste a bunch of resin doing this. So right at that black line in this little Coke bottle is 2 ounces. So we're gonna see how much 2 ounces weighs, and then I'll be able to go from there. So here we go. I've got plastic over this to keep the little unit clean, brand new. I don't want resin all over it. So we're going with kilos here right now, and it's 0.07. So I'm gonna go write that down. All right, so that should be divided at 2%. It's what I'm gonna mix right now in the middle of the road. 2%, that should be 0.0014 goes. All right, so we got 2 samples here. See this dividing line? This mix right here is mixed where it's still tacky on top. See my lifting? Still tacky on top because this is for laminating. And so you want to keep layering while it's tacky like that. But on your final coat, you want it where it's solid like this is right here, no tacking. And this has wax in it, okay? So wax on, wax off. That's WAX for you that are not sure. Now, the thing is that you can't finish like that. Now this is bonded good. This is 2 layers of cloth on here. And we applied it, we wetted it out, we soaked up the plywood, we wetted out the back side of the fiberglass before we put it down, of the mat right there. And then we wetted the top of it after we applied it down. And then we did it again with another piece, wetting both sides, putting it down. So we got really good, really clear, rolled it out with a fin roller. And this one here is 1 layer. It is with wax included, that gives it a nice finished surface. But you can't paint on that surface. You'll have to come back and sand that and knock that wax off the top right there and give it something for paint to adhere to. That's where peel ply is better. If you had peel ply and we would have put it down on this, it wouldn't be tacky in the end. It would have dried with a finish like this, but without the wax. And I'm having a hard time locating peel ply unless I want to order it and wait a while for it to come in, and it's going to set me behind my boat project. So there's some alternative ways you can get certain types of cloth, like nylon or poly cloth, that's real tight, shiny looking cloth weave. Mel knows right where to go get it. We had some here, some extra. I can't find it. We don't know where it went, but I could try that. But Cap and I yesterday bought some tarp material that's really thin from City Hardware, and we're just gonna test it, you know, if we got to redneck it up. And this time we're going to put it still with no wax, the exact same mix this is, but we're gonna try a piece of that tarp. It's a really thin tarp, super thin, super cheap, but we're gonna see if it is gonna stay stuck to the resin or if it'll peel off and if it'll give us the finish we want. Just trying to find an alternative here to the peel ply because I can't readily get it here. The supplier that sells this stuff has it in their catalog, but they don't stock it. Yep. Here we go. So this is that tarp material that I'm gonna try to use. I'm gonna put another layer of cloth, and this is the one right here that's still tacky but hard, that has no wax, and it already has 2 layers of cloth there on it. So we're gonna pour a little bit of this on and go ahead and wet it out. This time I'll use this old brush, and we'll sweater out there. And we'll remember this corner was already up, so if we see light later, we'll know that was already peeled up. Alright, I'm going to lay a piece of cloth on it and wet the cloth, and then I'm going to flip it over. So I don't have to make a mess like trying to have a wedding table for a little spot right now. And what I'm trying to do is find the right mix for here where I'm working at by the beach that will set up, give me a working time with these materials that are being imported here. I can't get West Systems, I can't get Total Boat, and alright, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna flip that. I just wanted to wet that out, and I'm gonna flip it. There we go. Look at that, man. Beautiful. Let's work that out. And then we're going to take the fin roller, not pin with a P, fin with a F, like it's got little fins on it. And we ain't worried about these loose strands over here. And we're going to roll that. I could just go ahead and put what I'm going to use as a test peel ply, but I want to go ahead and see if I can work any extra resin out or any air bubbles as it is. Alright, I think we're pretty good there. Yeah, we're pretty good right there. Now, this is the ghetto material because I don't know if it'll work. I honestly don't know. This could be stuck on there and we can't even get it off. But this is part of what these test runs are for. This side here feels a little bit more waxy to me than it to you, Cap. Then the other side, especially my sticky fingers, I can feel a difference. So I'm gonna put that side down.
You're gonna completely cover it, or you want to leave part of it exposed?
No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it to it. Because we already know what that'll do. It's just stay tacking. Okay. Yeah, and I'm gonna roll this. I don't know if this will work. We are in experimenting phase right here. This is the scientific workshop happening here right now. Might work, might not. We don't know. Definitely, it's a solid material that you're not really getting any wetting coming through. Just a little bit pushing through between those fibers. So we'll see. It's kind of bubbled there a little bit more. I think cloth would still be better, because that'll require a little sanding to go back over. It's probably what you're trying to avoid with using a peel ply too, is having to do so much sanding. It looks all really good through here. And you want a work time. And that's another thing I'm looking for. I'm looking for a work time, so I'm not having to work in a panic. Wipe off my fin roller, get that little bit of resin off of it, keep it clean. So, Kat, we finished laying that down at what time? What is it right now?
It is 12:24.
So
25.
So I'm just, it's been already a couple minutes, so I'll just put 12:23. And then we're gonna check it. We got a little resin left here, and we're gonna make another little test spot. I probably have to make it smaller size with the amount of resin I gotta work with. In fact, I think I'll cut this piece of cloth in half. We're gonna make another test run using a piece of plastic that came off these sheets that were peeled on the metal for the cantina. Might be we have a whole bunch of it over here. It might be our other recycled material. We're just gonna give it a shot and see. Probably need to let this soak longer, but I don't have much material and I don't know how long I can work with this. We'll find out. Just gonna keep on working at it here. The main thing I'm trying to find out is it about it releasing. We know we can make it adhere to the plywood. We're not concerned with that. So Main thing is what we can substitute at the moment for a peel ply. It'd be better if I could let that set for a little while, but I'm gonna keep on moving forward here. Alright, so add a little additional resin on there. Oh, we got more than enough. I probably could have done the whole thing. That's alright. Then I'm gonna come back over it. Looks pretty good. We're gonna do this ghetto style here with whatever we can find. But you can see when you got bubbles with that peel ply, just like you see when you got bubbles here with this plastic. Well, plastic's pretty nice so far. See, you can work your bubbles right out. This, as long as they don't rip when you're taking it off. Actually, so far, it don't seem to be reacting. The wind's trying to blow the edge of it up, though. It ain't trying, it is. Blowing it up on me. Let's slide that down behind this can. So maybe it'll block that wind off of it. Little breeze picking up on the beach out there. That's another thing, look to see if the plastic you're using is going to have a reaction. It looks like it's trying to curl right there, you see it? It folded over itself, I see. Let's get that up off of there. There we go. Because if you want it to keep from being sticky on top, you need to make sure that it stays down 100%. If it peels off on the edge, you're going to have wet spots and dry spots. So this was the little test run we did at 12:23 when we laid it down. Now, I've been peeling on this, me and Kat both already. And it is almost 2 hours later. We're 10 minutes short of 2 hours later. We went and had a little lunch. Let's see here. Now we peeled it back. This is the one that is still just only the resin with no wax. And we used this cheap tarp material as a cover. Now, Kat, will you hold that on the corner right there? And so I can peel this back and it comes off pretty easy. And it's dry.
That's cured.
It's cured. No sticky, no tacky. That's what we wanted.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
It's still curing just a little bit, but it's not wet. Like this, right off the edge of it, it's wet. Like, see if I have a glove or something I can stick on there and you can see maybe the difference. I don't know if this would be something the video camera can pull up. Yeah, so you can see it's holding the glove right there. You can see it. See, it's still tacky. Let me find another place on the glove because I just got sticky stuff on there. So let's use this spot here on the glove here. See, nothing. Nothing. See? So this was exposed to the air and it's tacky. You can see it sticking to it. And over here, I'll push down on it real hard. Nothing. I mean, it just lifts with my finger. Nothing. And that's what we're after. So this tarp material did stay adhered. It didn't curl up. But all the imperfections in the weave, it's not a perfect material. This is really cheap. So it was bubbly like this already even before getting resin on it. All of that imprints down to the surface. But the main thing, and it feels good. And so I'm trying to find, this is all about trying to find an alternative to peel ply so I don't have to wait forever to do this boat. It's pretty good. It's still curing just a little bit. A couple more hours would have been good. I'm just impatient. You can see the difference right there of that was outside of it. And you see that shine. But that shine's sticking. Yeah, see my finger's sticking on that. And right next to it, it's not. And I got sticky on my finger now, but right next to it, it's all good. So that's, I'd say that spot right there is pretty successful. Now, I still have to sand that before paint. But the thing is, that's just resin on top that can just knock right off instantly. So it still save a lot of sanding time. That'll knock off fast. This is probably going to be a really good alternative. Now we got one with a piece of plastic on it, and I think it's a complete fail. Complete fail. All we're doing is looking for a readily available alternative to peel ply if I can't get any here in a timely fashion, or without having to buy a big bulk that I don't need. So here's the plastic. The plastic had a chemical reaction. It's just barely on there. Look at that. It came off and sticky. You take your fingers off, Cap. Sticky. And that is not because it's not cured right. That's because it needed peel ply or it needed wax solution in it to give it a surface. The wax will do the same thing as the peel ply, but then you got to sand the wax off. And we ain't got time for a lot of waxing off. Yeah. So overall, the tarpaulin material is pretty good. And of course, that was wax on the plywood. Is it bound a little bit more on there now? Yeah, that's a lot better. So the wax went directly to plywood is better than it was. It's holding pretty damn tight, ain't it? It is. And look here, it's going to rip it. So now that it had more time to cure, this is wax. This is wax, and so it cured dry. That's still a good run. So this cured dry. Look at that nice finish. No stick. And now that we let it cure longer, this one's probably had what, 4 hours now?
Yeah.
We did, the new time was 9:42 on it when we started on it. So say 10 to 2 for over 4 hours. And it is bound on there now with the wax already in it. It wants to rip the cloth in two rather than come off. Look at that.
See, now that might be.
So I think this is the winner.
Right. I agree with you, because it's going to be way less sanding.
That is the winner right there. And I thought it was the loser to start with.
I did too. We just didn't give it time to cure.
Yeah.
We started messing with it.
And this is still a winner.
Yeah.
If you don't have any wax.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's definitely pretty good too. I was able to get a hold of some that was hanging off. And man, I'm pulling pretty hard. And this is between the layers.
And it hasn't had near enough, it hadn't had the cure time.
The cure time yet. The top layer dry peel just hasn't.
Right.
This under layer has, and you see it stayed. So the first layer stayed. So if we let this cure for a couple more hours, it wouldn't have peeled like this.
Right.
All right. So right now, for work time and all, the wax is the winner. And I didn't think it was going to be like that the way it peeled earlier.
Yep.
And I think to make it an even bigger winner is to wet it out more on the plywood.
Yes.
What I mean is not building up a thick layer of resin, but to make sure that it's soaked in.
Correct.
So you don't get those little spots like that where it didn't soak good, because this dry plywood's sucking it up.
Well, and at this point in time, we know we've got a longer work period. You can allow a few minutes and let it soak in, and then recoat it with a thin coat.
So another problem that I want to share when we're sharing all this mad science laboratory going on here, you know, the science room, is that the local vendor here in the Philippines that's selling this materials, they got branches all over. When you buy a smaller amount of fiberglass, you're not buying a big full roll, and I didn't need a big full roll. For years they've been selling it like this in a bag, and it's already it's folded up like this, and that is horrible, because the glass is bent to these folds, and when you go to lay it out, it's got a memory to that. It's been bagged up for so long, and then who's ever folding it all of a sudden, like halfway when you roll it out, it starts folding a different direction and way on every one of them I've ever done. And it ends up with these crazy creases in it. And what happens is, let me show you. Hold on, first off, I want you to see how wide it is. So you see here to here, how wide that is for the fold? Now remember that. So here it is right here, there's the fold. Now this is where I lap two pieces together, but there's a fold. And then we can jump right over here, there's a fold. And then we can jump right over here, there's a fold. Then they get smaller as you get down the core. There's a fold, 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 all the way. Yeah, because what that is resin built up underneath there because it wouldn't stay down flat. So that's not hollow underneath. I know you see light and think it's hollow. It's got resin under it. That's where the glass, they lifted up and it was wet underneath it. And now that I sand it into the glass, and there's still hard resin underneath that. And that was horrible. This was a preliminary coat that I put on. And this is all, it's on there. No, but we got this sanded down, it's ready to reapply. So what I was gonna show you is I took that chop that was in that plastic bag folded up, and we spread it out on a sheet of plywood. And in the core down in there, I've got a piece of bamboo that was nice and clean, and we rolled it up, and I'm letting it rest here, and I'm gonna do the others tomorrow. I got more bags of it. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna lay them out and roll them up like that and try to let those creases start relaxing. That's why I wanted to show you. If you end up with any yourself that's folded like that, I would really suggest laying it out. All right, I am gonna turn off the lights and call it a night.